afternoon, Nishant. Warm welcome to you on behalf of APAC News Network. Just briefly before we start about APAC News Network, we are a media organization headquartered out of Noida, and we have presence in India in Hyderabad and outside India, branches in Dubai, Singapore, and Malaysia. Primarily, till now, our focus was on government, healthcare, and education sectors. In fact, we are the only B2B media, perhaps in the last 1 year, to have hosted even Prime Minister Modi in one of our platforms. Besides, we are quite strong with the bureaucrats and ministers and educational institutes and hospitals. And now we are enhancing the focus also on enterprise, IT, and BFSI. And the idea is to see how the all the verticals synergize with each other. And we have print, digital, videos, as well as through events. We connect to all the communities. So today, the discussion, what we would like to know is one, first we'd like to know an update on the solutions and services in the NeoSOFT portfolio. We would like to talk you to talk about the domains or the verticals where you witness maximum traction from. We would like to hear a little bit about the neobank thing. Then we would also like to understand the go-to-market model that you follow. And these are some of the areas. So maybe best would be if you can start with the solutions and services that you currently offer in your portfolio.
Sure. Right. So thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here on, for this conversation. I'd like to first introduce myself. I'm one of the founders of NeoSOFT Technologies. We're a 20 plus year old software company. We're at this point in time located in 8 different cities in India. So we have development centers across 8 different cities, starting from Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Noida, and Chennai, to name a few, and Indore as well. So we're seeing strong growth in terms of software development requirements, digital transformation requirements across various sectors that we operate in. The solutions that we currently offer revolve around digital transformation and technology solutions around cloud consulting, cloud enterprise solutions. Some of the clients that we actually work with start from funded startups to a lot of the larger BFSI segment, banks, financial institutions, insurance companies. We also have extensive experience in the logistics and retail domain. So we work with a lot of the larger e-commerce players in India and internationally, Middle East, and North America. Our primary focus today is technologies related to cloud computing, quantum computing, automation, RPA, IoT, and digital transformation. Finally, we have multiple solutions that we offered in the various financial segments, and that's the primary focus of the business at this point in time.
Okay, so you touched upon some of the verticals. So if I may ask currently in terms of the vertical wise, how big they are proportion to Neosoft business, which would be the three or four of the top verticals where you have maximum clients coming from?
Sure. So that's an interesting question because see, we are a mid-sized IT technology company, and we focus at this point in time purely on BFSI, banking, finance, insurance, that domain, and retail, logistics, and e-commerce. While we do have customers in the media, in other, or even oil and gas for that matter, but like I said, the top three would be BFSI, retail, e-commerce, and logistics.
Okay, and in terms of the solutions, you talked about something on the RPA and the IoT, RPA, and those lines. Those are specific technologies. This enabling the digital transformation of enterprises and primarily your top sectors, BFSI or retail or logistics. So, what all does this digital transformation entail in your case? What all do you provide in that whole bouquet of digital transformation?
Right. So we provide solutions right from ideation to actual production. So there are customers. I'll give you an example of a blockchain solution that we built for one of the largest digital gold sellers online. So this is a very large digital gold seller from Switzerland, and we've built the entire platform so you can digitally go and buy gold. It's using the blockchain platform. You can buy gold, you can retain gold over there from any country across the world, whether India, internationally, or whatever. And you can even buy. So for a normal person, you could you'd say, okay, gold 1 gram costs an X amount of money. Here, even if you had just $1, that which is say about 100 rupees or 200 rupees to invest, you can still go and buy on their platform a small part of gold and see how that appreciates. So that entire platform, this is an example of a platform we've created. You can also trade gold over there on this platform. Similarly, we've worked for retail players where we provided contactless solutions for them, so they can do their deliveries without actually having their customers to come and pay. It's an entire digital solution for contactless delivery and tracking. We've also built LMS portals for a number of educational institutions in the edtech space, where they have an entire learning management system where their students can log in, take an entire course, also do assessment. So it's right from learning to testing to assessment, all in all, in just one single application. Again, these are all ongoing projects, so I would call them innovation, because as time progresses, as time passes by, these products will enhance, and more features will carry on coming. The LMS one was, I highlight that particular solution because during COVID, as everybody knows, there's a lot of study from home across, right from the smallest of students to even engineering students and even beyond that. And there's a lot of acceptance around that as well. Without having a platform for an institution, it is impossible for them to actually talk to students and communicate with them and even do assessment. So the LMS then becomes a very important component. So these are some of the solutions which we've actually built in the which I wanted to highlight in the past few months.
The LMS example, as you said, it has been very relevant during the pandemic. In fact, that was my next question. What we have seen is in the pandemic has sort of forced organizations, because anyway people were being forced to work from home or work from anywhere. So a lot of digital transformation sort of got accelerated.
Hmm.
Companies which were not maybe looking so much, they migrated a lot of their applications onto the cloud, and so but that also meant what had happened was, like, many people are working from home. So that means a workload pattern that got changed also.
Hmm.
So there are more heterogeneous networks which are coming into the system and stuff. So one is, as a digital transformation provider, how much the pandemic sort of accelerated digital transformation, A, and B is this changing workload pattern. How did that impact the enterprises, and how did your solutions sort of overcome that challenge?
Right. So we saw a great increase in demand for digital transformation once the pandemic started off last March, whatever, when we had a lockdown in India and internationally, there was a lot of confusion as to what would happen. So the first month or two were a little slow. Everybody was trying to figure out what's going to happen. Is this going to get over? Are we going to be back to work? But I think by the end of May, enterprises within a month and a half had already started planning as to how can they use technology to ensure that they have some kind of workings, some kind of revenue on the table, and make sure that their clients are able to carry on transacting on their platforms. Now again, I go back to the BFSI segment, where we would walk into a branch usually, or we would call up a phone banker. During that time, those 2 3 months, I think everything was at a standstill. So we started using mobile first banking, and therefore there was a lot of innovation around the mobile applications which were built. Account opening, so the eKYC is another application which we built during that time, and we have some of the largest banks in India and the Middle East using our eKYC platform. So there, you don't need to walk into a branch to open an account. You can do that all online. using the bank's app or the bank's website. Just log in, show your credentials, get put your Aadhaar card in. I'm just talking in terms of India right now, but put your Aadhaar card in, and that's it. Your account will get authenticated, opened, and you don't need to do any paperwork at all. So the AKYC also is another important part where again the bank has to continuously do know your customer every couple of months. So the EKYC enables them to do that. Now, this is a very simple and a very small example of what the transformation has enabled the bank to do. They've cut down on all the paperwork, everything's digital, faster, easier, and cheaper. With the you mentioned about neo banks. So neo banks are the ones which don't really have a real presence. So they're like your cloud kitchen, which again is a very interesting concept right now, where they don't have a restaurant storefront, but you're still ordering food and you're enjoying that. Similarly, the neo bank is somebody who doesn't really have a branch, but it's still a bank. You still save your money there, and everything's digital. Your application, the way you access, the way you talk to them is completely digital. So that is what the pandemic has done. Some other examples of work which I want to talk about is the contactless delivery in the retail segment. So the retail segment has dramatically transformed after this, where again shops were closed. So they had to enhance their experience on their app or on their websites to ensure that they had the same kind of buyers or the same kind of experience. Of course, you can't replace a physical purchase, like wearing the shirt on and trying it out. But having said that, there still are customers and who are loyal to a particular brand, and the brand wants to reach out to their clients. So so brands who had data with them as to what their customer interests were or what they were buying, they were able to go out and present their products to those customers and transform their entire journey, or ensure that sales were still active. Of course, sales finally reached up to the level of what it was during the normal days, but but the digital part is here to stay, and you will see a lot of businesses who will eventually have a lot less physical presence, and a lot of their transactions will get moved on to the digital platforms.
This brings to two areas. One, I'd like you to touch upon this, as you correctly said, that in future more and more business will go digital. Even if things normalizes, it will be more a hybrid kind of model with a
Mhm.
large digital component. What
Mhm.
about the security paradigm there itself has changed? So how would you ensure security in such a hybrid digital kind of scenario? And the second is, as a new sort of your platform,
Mhm.
so what that involves in that digital transformation, you have to work with multiple platforms, be
Mhm.
it the large public cloud providers, Azure's and AWS's. Then you have to work with the other enterprise application, mm, anything. It can be from ERP to CRM to all sort of applications. So this integration, I know that normally the APIs they will connect, but in terms of there are different kind of technologies. So is there some sort of restriction in terms of when your platform is being used for digital transformation in terms of the proprietary technologies of certain vendors? So one is the security part, and other is the integration part.
Right. So I'll answer the first question. When you talk about security, and we should also talk about the well-being of people. So when the pandemic started off, we had this training program which we devised within a month to ensure that people were following standards. Again, the BFSI segment is a very important part of our client base, and therefore security is of paramount importance to them and us, and to ensure that their data is completely secure. So we had certain guidelines which we created, which were as per international standards, to ensure that their data was accurately uh, transferred between the person who was working on the application and the actual servers in the cloud or in the client's data center. We had various VPNs which we created and tunnels which were created, which ensured that data moved very securely. We also have a number of audits which happen, random audits and compulsory audits which happen on employee laptops and employee machines, to ensure that there's no malware or any of those kind of issues on them which could be pulling away client data. This ensures that there is a 99.9% uh, security of data that sits with the employee or the staff who's working on a particular application, and the client and their servers and so on. So one is we did a lot of training. Second, to ensure that employees were putting in the same amount of efficiency and also were not getting mentally tired or physically tired doing putting in extra hours, and not being able to interact with their colleagues. We had various employee well-being sessions as well, which really helped. We saw that there was a dramatic improvement in efficiency in the second and the third month as people started accepting this as the new normal. Secondly, we also created a 24 by 7 desk which is available for customers and for employees to call in and take help with anything that is required to enable them, or if they have the slightest of doubts that there's something insecure or something that's happened, they can report this and somebody will go ahead and do an audit and make sure that we're able to go to the last leg of the problem, if at all there is any. So all in all, all this slowly enabled us to ensure proper efficiency, security, and production levels for customers. And of course customers also cooperated a lot of our in fact, even today, 90% of our work is being done from home. There's hardly a 10-15% workforce which reports into office just because they're bored of sitting at home and they want to come in and sit with their colleagues and work that way. But we've been able to have that collaborative environment, and I'm very sure that in the future we will have a decent percentage of our staff sitting out of various cities across India. So while we have 8 development centers in tier 1 and tier 2 cities at this stage, but there still is a lot of talent in tier 3 cities which we want to go after, and the work from home or work from anywhere will enable us to do that. So we're very excited about that also. And security is paramount importance. There are a lot of steps and standards that we follow to ensure that clients' data is absolutely secure.
Okay. Also, in terms of the go-to market, since again, two, three verticals you mentioned that you focus on, but there are other clients in other areas. So, primarily, what sort of go-to market model you follow, and what are the initiatives under that strategy?
Sure. So, like I said, we are a full service digital transformation company, and we help the client right from ideation to actual production, and then even handhold them after the production started and maintain and upgrade their applications as their business progresses, as their business transforms. So, our first thing that we do in terms of a go-to-market strategy is understanding our customer, understanding what the problem is, primary problem is, and based on that devising a solution based on the experience that we've had in the same industry vertical or in other industry verticals. So a lot of the times customers ask us, why do we work with startups? We do work with startups because there is a lot of innovation that happens over there, which, and that knowledge and that data becomes very very interesting for an enterprise to implement. So the experience that my people or we as an organization get while we work with startups, we are able to take that to the enterprise and give them solutions which are, I would say, beyond imagination as far as a larger enterprise go. Second way of go to market is we try and identify the pain points in a particular industry vertical. So if we do get, and we have very deep relationships with some of our largest customers, so when they come to us with a pain point, we devise a solution around that, and the same solution is then marketed to other people in the same vertical or in other verticals, because we become a solution expert. We have a solution, we have the experience, so it's a faster go to market for the rest of the companies. The third is, of course, we involve the user in the entire journey. So in the ideation stage, it's not us who's ideating, it's the client who's ideating. So we involve them in the entire journey, which ensures that there's an acceptance of the solution across all the stakeholders. And when the solution actually comes live, everybody owns the solution, and they want to make sure that it's implemented, used, and there's optimization happening in the entire process. So formulating that entire distribution plan of how the application will be built out and involving the actual stakeholders in this is probably one of the best go to market strategies that we've deployed over the past few years, and more so now, to ensure that we're able to deliver what the client wants, and at the end of the day relieve them of the pain that they actually walked into us with.
Perfect. I wanted to understand one more thing. You talked about the digital transformation and how things have accelerated after the pandemic. Now, from the enterprise side, see, since mostly you handle BFSI, BFSI as an organization, most organizations are technologically more matured, um, maybe even retail per se. So, my question is from the enterprise side, this customer side, who is driving this digital transformation? Is it the still the CIO driving the show, or is it the business heads, or is it in some cases the CDOs, or and how has those conversation which you used to have earlier changed now?
Right. So, see, in any enterprise, as you may have seen in the past as well, there has to be acceptance from the top. So, it's the CIOs who actually drive digital transformation. They come up with ideas, they come up with solutions. They, of course, look at their industry peers as well and see what somebody's done. The eKYC application that I gave you is a very good example. It's been used by a number of different players in the banking industry in India and internationally. But adding a layer of artificial intelligence into that, adding a layer of blockchain into that, adding a whole lot of other things into that will ensures that the solution which a particular client is offering to their, or rather the experience which he's offering to his customer, is very different from what they've seen at the other places. The other important part you should also remember is that industry peers will want to give the same, at least the same experience to the customer, so that there's no differentiation in their products specifically, or products and services specifically in the BFSI domain, where, or a bank where it's pretty much the same whether you have X or Y or Z, whatever. uh, Second important thing is there has to be acceptance from the lower level as well. So there's a very nice, so the clients where we are deep into and we have a relationship, we have a number of I would say uh, a number of cadence meetups with them to ensure that we're able to go and talk to them about what's new and understand what their new initiatives are, and based on that we come up with a solution, or we come up with service offerings which can enhance and improve their overall efficiency, maybe even save them money in the long term, in the short term, based on what they've been doing. A very good example is the mobile applications for the banking sector, where a lot of them have been able to, even during the pandemic there was zero walk-ins, zero footprints into the branches, and a lot of people then moved on to the app. So the app is now much better. Most of the institutions have improved their application and the actual UI UX and the experience of what they're giving their users. There's a lot of other authentication levels as well, so you don't need to keep re-logging in each and every time. You can use your phone's fingerprint, etc., etc., which is put in to ensure that the application is easier to use. So all in all, digital transformation is a journey. It's it has to happen across the organization. It cannot be from the top to the bottom. The bottom has to accept, and the top has to guide, and that's how it progresses. So that's been the journey so far.
Okay, and one more thing about that eKYC example you gave where blockchain was extensively used, or maybe earlier you gave certain examples of IoT or the robotic process automation. So, how are these newer technologies like RPA, IoT, or even blockchain, which were not so mainstream in India? We've been hearing about them for some years, but they've not been so mainstream. So where is the situation now? Do you see more and more enterprises really deploying them?
Right. So, see, automation is the name of the game. Most of the people, or most of the institutions, enterprises are looking at automating a specific part of their activity. When you talk about data, blockchain becomes very important. See, every organization today understands that the data they capture in terms of users' experience or users' inputs, becomes extremely important for them to be able to offer them a very personalized kind of experience. That data is used to make sure they create products and services around your interest levels. So a very good example is, the food delivery applications that we use today. They actually track every single thing that you buy, the time you buy it for, and probably the deliveries where they're taking place, and of course the kitchens which are actually delivering those to you. And they look at that data, they look at how that data can be used, and then they start showing you uh, products which are interesting and which you have a trend of buying, and ensuring that finally the actual restaurant gets a better delivery or a better a more number of orders as compared to what they would otherwise. So that data has to be captured. Organizations do understand that, and therefore blockchain and other methodologies become important. As far as RPA goes, there are a lot of applications which were manually done, which today don't need to be done. There are machines for that which can take decisions. There's AI which can be added on top of RPA, which will ensure that certain decisions can be taken by the machine in real time without having some a manual person to log in and take a decision. And these are all run of the mill stuff, whether it's on the production line of a factory, or it's in a car or whatever. So that's how all these other solutions can automate and make life easier, save money for the enterprise and institution, and ensure that the workforce which was actually doing all this can be utilized for far more greater and important tasks as compared to just doing menial work, as to passing data from one part to the other. So all in all this implemented can really change the entire way which organizations actually give or rather reach out to their customers and their final stakeholders.
Okay, so I'd conclude with wanting to know about, if we look at the next 3 to 4 quarters,
Mhm.
what are going to be your key focus areas? And these key focus areas can be in terms of new products, new solutions, new verticals, or even otherwise expansion. But what are going to be those 3, 4 main thrust areas?
Right. So I think one of the most important things I have three or four items which we've thought of and we've planned as an organization. One of them being how can we reskill our workforce? That's become one of the most important and challenges at this point in time. Being remote, how do we how do we reskill? So we've devised a strategy around that. We have 8 development centers today, like I said. We're growing those development centers, so going deeper and closer to talent is one of the strategies for the next 12 to 18 months. We've been relatively successful in that, and the workforce is also happy that we've gone close to them, and they'll be able to go to an office which is closer to home rather than relocate to a development center which existed maybe in Mumbai, Pune, or Ahmedabad 2 years ago. So that is one. Two is we're looking at growing our client base. In terms of verticals that we are working in, and we're looking at going deeper in existing relationships. So while current relationships are ongoing, there are a lot of new innovative products and projects which clients have been discussing with us over the past couple of months, which will come into life in the next 12 to 18 months. So all in all, there's it's an exciting time from a digital transformation, technology transformation perspective. And we see that going deeper into accounts of which we have complete understanding of will make this journey faster for them and more effective and efficient for us as well. Third important thing is we're looking at and we're also studying how the industry is working around this, but a permanent work from home workforce which will ensure that we have talent across India and the rest of the world wherever it's available. So we're devising that strategy, and in the next 12 to 18 months I believe there will be certain very good standards which the industry will set up, and innovation which the industry will set up to ensure that efficiency levels are as good or maybe even better than having the workforce in the office. Of course, there's a lot of savings around having people work from home also. So the industry is going to benefit from that. So will we. So 12 to 18 months, yes, that's the next thing. Finally, and this I find as the most important part of our 12 to 18 month journey, that is focusing on research and development. So we've been investing a lot of money on research and development, whether it being cloud, whether it being artificial intelligence, whether it being RPA, or any of the newer stuff, or any of the migration related projects. We've been doing a lot of research on those, and I'm sure that our customers will benefit from this. All kinds of research. We had a small research team a few years ago. Today we have a decent sized team, and we intend to grow this even further to make us one of the leaders in whatever we offer, and to be able to offer the latest and the greatest solutions to our customers over the next few years.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time. And it was a pleasure hosting you.
Right. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.